The 60,000-strong Ottoman army, one of the most powerful armies in the world at the time, stood frozen before the sight they beheld. Before them stretched what looked like a forest, but it was not made of trees. Historians write that thousands of people had been executed by being impaled on long wooden stakes and left standing there. Some were already dead. Others were still breathing. Their bodies covered an area stretching more than a kilometer. Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, looked upon this scene and turned his army back. The chronicles record his words: "I cannot take a country from a man who does such things to defend his land." And at the center of this nightmare stood a man, seated at a table adorned with silver dishes. He was eating, drinking, and smiling. His name was Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia. History knows him as Vlad the Impaler. Legend knows him as Dracula. You may have heard of Dracula, the vampire legend, but Bram Stoker's novel? Compared to the real story, it is a children's fairy tale. Today, you will learn 4 things history has tried to conceal. First, historical documents describing his methods of execution. Second, the infamous banquet. What happened and why? Third, the psychological weapon he employed. Fourth, why his grave was found empty. The year is 1431. Sighisoara Fortress, Transylvania. A son is born to the military commander Vlad II. He is named Vlad III. His father's nickname is Dracula the Dragon because he belongs to the Order of the Dragon, a Christian military order formed to defend Christendom against the Ottoman Empire. He names his son Dracula, son of the dragon, Dracula. The most terrifying name in history began as a title of honor. Vlad grows up in a world of violence. Wallachia, the land between Transylvania and the Danube River, has become a battlefield. Hungary, to the west, seeks to control it. The Ottoman Empire, to the south, seeks to conquer it. Everyone wants Wallachia, because whoever controls it controls the trade routes between Europe and Asia. Vlad's childhood unfolds amid war, conspiracy, and betrayal. He watches his father navigate impossible politics, allying with the Hungarians one day, bargaining with the Ottomans the next. Each time, he plays the two sides against one another, and each time, he is only one mistake away from death. 1442. Vlad is only 11 years old. His father makes a catastrophic mistake. He negotiates with Sultan Murad II, and, as part of the agreement, offers a gesture of good faith. He sends his 2 younger sons, Vlad and his brother Radu, to the Ottoman court as hostages. Imagine this for a moment. You are 11 years old. Your father hands you over to a foreign empire, to a world whose language, customs, and faith are entirely alien to you. Vlad is taken to Anatolia, to a fortress called Edigus. He is locked in a cell for 6 years. Perhaps you have never truly been helpless, never been held for years in a place where no one is coming to save you, never felt the crushing weight of abandonment. This is how all of Vlad's adolescence passes. Sources do not give precise details, but court discipline at the time was brutal. Beatings for disobedience, hunger, humiliation. Some historians believe it was far worse. His brother Radu adapts. He grows accustomed to palace life and, over time, becomes part of the system. 1447. News arrives from Wallachia. Vlad's father has been betrayed by a group of Hungarian nobles. They ambush and kill him. His older brother Mircea is buried alive. Vlad is 16 years old. His father and brother are gone. His remaining brother now stands with the enemy. The Ottomans laugh and tell him, "Do not worry. When the time comes, we will make you Prince of Wallachia." At that moment, Vlad swears he will take the throne, and he decides that everyone will face the consequences of betrayal. 1448. Vlad is released and given command of an army. He marches on Wallachia and, at just 17 years old, takes the throne. His rule lasts only 2 months. Hungarian forces attack. Vlad flees. Ottoman support is withdrawn. For the next 8 years in exile, Vlad learns, watches, and plans. He studies how the Ottomans fight, how the Hungarians maneuver, how local nobles betray, and he comes to understand one crucial truth: fear works better than loyalty. 1456. This time, with Hungarian support, he returns, reclaims the throne, and begins his campaign of revenge. His first act, before he has even fully secured his rule, is to invite the nobles who betrayed his father to an Easter banquet. They arrive in their finest clothes, hundreds of them, nearly the entire aristocracy of Wallachia. The feast is lavish. Wine flows freely. Music fills the hall. Everyone celebrates the new prince. Then Vlad rises and asks a question. How many princes of Wallachia have you known personally? The nobles begin counting with uneasy, nervous smiles. Some say 7, others say 8, others. Vlad nods and smiles. Then he signals his guards to close the doors. The doors are shut. The oldest nobles, those infamous for constant betrayal, are arrested on the spot. That very day, they are brutally punished and executed. The younger ones face a different fate. They are sent to Ponari Castle, a ruined fortress. They are forced to rebuild it stone by stone, by hand, for days, for weeks, until their strength is completely spent. That day, a class dies in Wallachia, and Vlad makes his message unmistakably clear. I am not like the princes before me. I do not forgive. I do not forget. Here is the first thing I promised you: the documented method. Impaling had existed for thousands of years. The Assyrians used it, the Persians used it, but Vlad employed it for a different purpose. His goal was not a quick death. His goal was fear. Sources state that executions were carried out in such a way that the victims survived for hours, sometimes for days. This was not accidental. It was technically calculated and systematically applied as a method of punishment. In 1462, a papal envoy describes Vlad's capital as follows: around the city stood countless prisoners executed on stakes, arranged as if they were an army. The sight exceeded what the human mind can endure. German chronicles add that executions were differentiated by social status, one method for nobles, another for commoners. By conservative estimates, tens of thousands of people were executed during Vlad's reign. Some sources place the number even higher. For a small country, this meant that nearly every family was affected by this violence in some way. 1462. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II decides that enough is enough and marches on Wallachia. This is not the decision of a weak ruler. This is the decision of the man who conquered Constantinople at the age of 21. An army of 60,000 is assembled, the largest force the Ottomans ever send against Wallachia. The objective is clear: remove Vlad from power and install someone controllable. In June 1462, the Ottoman army advances north toward Vlad's capital, Targoviste. Vlad, meanwhile, has perhaps 10,000 soldiers, a 6-to-1 disadvantage. So he retreats and chooses a scorched earth strategy. Villages are evacuated, supplies are destroyed, wells are poisoned and rendered unusable. As the Ottomans advance, they find nothing: empty villages, dead animals, water that makes men sick. And then, as they draw closer to the capital, they begin to see warnings along the road. Captured scouts, a silent message: turn back. The Ottoman army continues forward, and then they reach the outskirts of Targoviste. Imagine you are an Ottoman soldier. You have been marching for weeks. You are exhausted. You are hungry. For days, you have followed the trail of death. And as you approach the capital, you realize that this silence is not accidental. First, the air changes. Breathing becomes difficult. Soldiers feel nauseated at what they see. Horses refuse to move forward, and the sounds, moans carried through the silence, making the scene even more horrifying. The Sultan himself steps forward Mehmed the Conqueror, the man who took Constantinople. He looks upon the forest, and according to the chronicler Leonicus Chalcocondyles, he says, "I cannot take land from a man who does such things to defend his country." But there is an even stranger detail, one that appears in some Ottoman records and chronicles, yet is not always emphasized in Western sources. Vlad does not stop there. It is written that at the center of that forest near Targoviste, he set a dining table. The first scouts see a table at the center, a linen cloth, silver dishes, crystal goblets, and at the head of the table sits a man. Despite the moaning around him, despite the stench, he is calm and composed. He eats his meal. Sources note that Vlad even invited those around him to dine within that scene. This was not mere cruelty. This was a demonstration. In a German pamphlet from 1463, a merchant claims to have witnessed it. The prince sat at his table as if he were attending an ordinary banquet. The source goes further, touching on rumors involving blood. But how much of this is truth and how much is propaganda remains disputed. And it is precisely from stories like these that the vampire legend feeds. Long before Bram Stoker, born from fear, because Vlad's greatest weapon was not the sword, it was fear. You may be wondering, why? What kind of monster does this? The answer is complex. Every historical account describes Vlad as intelligent, educated. He spoke several languages: Romanian, Hungarian, Turkish, Latin. He was not insane. He was not out of control. This was strategy. Wallachia was a small country surrounded by empires: Hungary to the west, the Ottoman Empire to the south. Both wanted to dominate it. Previous princes had tried diplomacy, bribes, playing both sides. All of them were killed. Vlad understood one thing clearly: if you are weak, everyone attacks you. If you are predictable, everyone manipulates you. But if you are terrifying, if even the thought of fighting you makes armies turn back, you can survive. Impaling was not random cruelty. It was psychological warfare. He imposed brutal punishment on those who defrauded the state, on corrupt merchants, adulterers, and thieves. Some chronicles contain an even darker account. They claim that Vlad gathered the poor and the sick of his capital in one place and made a harsh decision about their fate. Sources state that he justified this by saying he was freeing the country from poverty and disease, one of the darkest accusations associated with his rule, because the result was undeniable. Crime in Wallachia dropped dramatically. Merchants would say, "You could leave something valuable in the middle of the street and no one would touch it." Not because people were good, but because they were afraid. There is a story found in several sources about a merchant who came to Vlad's court, claiming that his golden cup had been stolen. Vlad told him, "Come back tomorrow, it will be found." That night, Vlad ordered his soldiers to place a new golden cup exactly where the merchant said it had been stolen from. But this cup was slightly different. It had an extra ruby set into it. The next morning, the merchant finds the cup and examines it. He tells Vlad, "My lord, this is not my cup. Mine did not have a ruby." Vlad smiles and replies, "I know. I wanted to see if you were honest. If you had claimed this cup as yours, I would have impaled you for lying. Your cup was found last night. The thief is already dead. Whether the story is true or not, it spreads. The message is clear. Do not steal in Wallachia. Do not lie to the prince." Because Vlad's justice was absolute and immediate. 1462. Despite his success against the Ottomans, Vlad makes many enemies. His former ally, the Hungarian king Matthias Corvinus, suddenly changes his position. Vlad is arrested. Politics demands that peace with the Ottomans requires a sacrifice, and Vlad becomes that sacrifice. He spends the next 12 years imprisoned in Hungary. Even in captivity, his behavior is described as disturbing. Several reports claim that he captured small animals in his cell: rats, birds, insects, and displayed obsessive, violent behavior toward them. 1476. Matthias releases Vlad. He is needed once again against the Ottomans. Vlad returns to Wallachia and takes the throne for the third time, but his rule lasts only 2 months. In December 1476, a battle takes place near Bucharest. The exact details of his final moments are disputed. Sources contradict one another. The ambush may have been carried out either by Ottoman forces or by internal rivals. What we do know is this: Vlad is killed in that confrontation. Sources state that his head is sent to Constantinople and displayed publicly. The Ottomans message that the threat is over, but the location of his body's burial remains unknown. It is believed to be somewhere near Bucharest, but the place disappears from history. For centuries, historians believed Vlad was buried at Snagov Monastery on an island in a lake near Bucharest. 1931. Romanian archaeologists decide to excavate the tomb believed to belong to Vlad Dracula. The grave is opened. It is empty, completely empty. No body, no bones, no burial objects, nothing. The entire church is searched. Another grave is found near the altar. It is opened. Inside, a body, dressed in purple, a ring on the finger bearing the symbol of the Order of the Dragon, Vlad's order. The skeleton is examined. The skull is missing. The head had been severed, exactly as described in historical records. But one detail does not fit. The body is positioned facing east, toward the altar, a Christian burial. Yet Vlad had been excommunicated by the church. He was not supposed to be buried in consecrated ground. So who moved the body? When? And why was the original grave empty? No one knows. The artifacts recovered from the excavation are sent to a museum in Bucharest. During World War II, the museum is bombed. Everything is destroyed. No photographs survive. No detailed records remain. If the body was Vlad's, then it vanished from history. Some claim this proves the vampire legends, that the disappearance of his body is linked to resurrection. The rational explanation is simpler, yet somehow more unsettling. Someone secretly moved the body. At some point over the last 500 years, someone knew exactly where Vlad Dracula was buried. They exhumed him and they relocated him. Why? To protect the body from grave robbers? To perform some ritual? Or was this Vlad's final command? Did he instruct his followers to hide his body so it could never be desecrated? We will never know. What we do know is this: one of the most terrifying men in European history left no trace behind. Thank you for watching. This was a story from Forgotten Thrones. On this channel, we tell the stories of forgotten thrones, hidden rulers, and erased destinies. Stories no one talks about, stories no one looks at closely, because every throne casts a shadow, and we shine a light on that shadow. If you enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe. This is Forgotten Thrones, the untold stories of power, law, betrayal, and legacy. Thank you for watching.